Yes. So I just would like to talk about first the few the Purusharthas and Ashrama Vyavastha, and then I'll shift to the third unit, social change in India. In the first unit, yesterday I was just talking about like we have 4 ideals to be followed by the Hindu person and the 4 ashrama systems. Okay. So in the the 4 Purusharthas are the 4 ideals we have. And these 4 ideals talk about the Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, where usually the first ideal is taking the Dharma as the base, fine, righteous way, and taking the responsibility where you feel that is as a person in the family, as a person in the society, you are required to take up certain responsibilities towards the whole society, fine. So this is the Dharma which talks about the righteous way of performance, the behaviors of the person, and taking the responsibility of the family as well as the bigger large society. The second ideal talks about usually it talks about the Artha, Dharma Artha. Artha is the possession of the wealth for a person. Why do we require the possession of the wealth here? Actually, what do we understand by the wealth? It is nothing but striving hard, doing the hardship, and earning like the bread and earning the bread for the family members. Because when we talk about the Dharma, it says that it is the responsibility of the person to give all the needs required for the family, right? How do you earn all these requirements? Through hardships, that is through Dharma, a righteous way, you're going to earn your earnings, and then you're going to serve the family and see that your responsibility is fulfilled here. The other members of the needs are fulfilled by the family members. That is the Dharma Artha. Artha is possession of the wealth for a person. You're giving importance to the wealth, you're giving importance to the properties, you're giving importance to what is called a righteous way of earning your income, and you're giving importance to the hardships in your life. Okay, this is one aspect, the second ideal. The third ideal is Kama. Kama is nothing but it gives importance to progeny. The progeny is required in order to continue the society. I repeat once again. The 4 ideals talk about Dharma, the righteous way, earning your, and the Artha is possession of the wealth. And the third ideal talks about the Kama. Kama is giving importance to the progeny here, where progeny is required in order to continue the society and the survival of the society. So we are not looking in a very big, in the longer way, but we are saying that yes, the progeny is something where you are giving, the Kama is giving importance to entering into or what is called the satisfaction of one's own desires here, the sexual desires maybe, or in a rightful way, in a legal manner. Okay, we say it in the common modern say, it is nothing but in a legal aspect, you're entering into the satisfaction of your desires here. Okay, the Kama. Then actually, it talks about the last stage which talks about the Moksha. So fine, when you talk about the last stage, it says that it is something where you are finished with all your earnings, you are finished with your hardships, and you are entering into an age where you require the moksha. It is nothing but in search of the truth, in search of what is called the peace for your life here. Okay, this is the moksha. So very briefly, you talk about these 4 ideals. On the other side, we have the 4 ashrama systems. The ashrama system, as I said yesterday, they are the stages of one's life here. So every person is going to move from one stage to the other stage. It's not one person or the other, but everyone who have taken birth on the earth has to move from one stage to the other stage. So when you're talking about the Hindu social organization, the ashrama is very important. Ashrama stage is very important for the life of a person here. Where the first stage talks about the brahmacharya, which is a student life. When you compare it to the modern society, it is a student life of a person here. So for about 16 to 17 years, okay, in the ancient India, it was about 16 to 17 years where the boy used to, or the person used to enter into the ashrama vyavastha called the brahmacharya, a student life. He goes to the ashram of a guru and he stays with the guru and go for the bhikshatam. Okay, and then he serves food for the guru as well as he learns the knowledge, he takes the knowledge from the guru and he becomes a renowned person here. That is a learned person. Then the second stage is like the first stage is something in the striving of the person, learning the knowledge of the person, grasping the knowledge from the guru, all takes place in this student life. And then he is brahmacharya life. Then again, after 17 years, he enters into the grasthashram. That is the second stage in his one's own life. Okay. The grasthashram gives importance to a person entering into the wedlock or entering into the marital stage here. Fine. So he takes up the help of the family members to search for a good, that is the rightful partner, and then enter into the wedlock, and he actually enters into the marital stage. Where grasthashram, it longs for nearly about from 20 to 30 years for a person, where usually today, modern day, we say that it is up to the age of the retirement. Like it's not going to continue about that. It's up to the age of 60 years, where the whole long years you are living your life with your partner, and giving all the needful things to the family, and your progeny starts, the man's progeny starts. So your conservation, and then the children are born, the brought up of the children, the what is called the education to the children, all the needful things you're going to do in your marital life. That is the grasthashram. Okay? All your responsibilities towards the family, your wife, and then the children, everything takes place. The children gets education, they grow up, and then like in the modern stage, when you talk about the retirement age, that is about 60 years, fine, after 60 years, you carry your wife, enters into the forest area, that is according to the Indian traditional system, the Vanaprastha ashram, right? Vanaprastha ashram means you are going to the forest, doing the yagnas and other things here, and then you are going to leave your wife to the family members. You totally leave the bond and the emotional attachment with the family, the love, affection with the family, and take up the sannyasam. That is the fourth stage in search of the moksha and all. Okay. So where we have the connectivity with the ideals and the ashrama stages and all. Fine. So these two actually the life stages for every person in the Hindu social organization. Of course, it is with the other person also, but we don't take all these nomenclatures and all. Okay. This is one of the important topics we have in the Indian traditional Hindu social organization. And simultaneously, we talk about the Varna system. So Varna system, we have the 4 Varnas. And these 4 Varnas, actually in the Hindi ancient system, we try to follow the Varna system. Okay. Then I try to talk about, then from there, the Hindu social organization, from the traditional system, we have also important topics like the family, marriage, and the kinship in Indian society. Like, because when you talk about cultural assimilation, India is representing with not one Hindu social system, but also we have the Islam community, also the Christian community, and other communities also. So the major important religious communities we try to take up as the family and the marriage system. Okay, so in the, I think, third structure, social structure, we try to talk about family and marriage system. Where in the family, when you talk about the family system, yesterday I was just talking that this is the base for the whole social system we have in the world communities. So when you're talking about the Hindu social organization, the base is again the family system. Family is the basic unit of the whole social system, even in the Hindu social system, also in the Islam community. Wherever you talk about, this is the base for the whole social system. Like when you say family, what is a family actually? It is the union of the male, female, who have already entered into the wedlock. Okay, and when they take up the tie between these two the stages, the male and the female, when they are entering into the wedlock, it is entering into the marital tie. When they enter into the marital, that is nothing, the bond, it is not a simple bond, but usually they are entering into 2 different status. The 2 different status are, husband is one status and the wife is one status. Okay, so they are not just a name where we use for, but they are the status where we actually claim for. What is the status actually? Status is not always independent, but they are always in association with the role performances. That is, as being a husband, you have certain role performance, and being a wife, you have certain role performance. So this is all actually make up with the family system. Okay, so family is the union of 2 members, male, female, and at the same time, their children form as a family unit. Okay, in certain responsibilities, certain obligations and duties towards every member in the family system. I repeat once again, it's not 2 status where husband wife we talk about as a status component here, but the status component is also an association with the role performance. When you talk about the role performance, it is the duties and the responsibilities and the obligations we have, also the right component, the rights towards each and every member of your member in the family, in your family unit. Okay, so the children have certain rights towards the parents, parents have certain rights towards the children. Also, the responsibilities and obligations mutually, it is a give and take performances in the family system. Not only this, what type of families we have, what are the types of families we have, what forms of families we have here. Usually when we talk about the Indian system, we go with the patriarchal system as a major dominant family structure. Okay, and the patriarchal resembles the male-headed family structures and male domination in the family. Domination in the sense, the decision-making power lies with the male members in the family. At the same time, the lineage of the male member goes to the children in the family. I repeat once again, as far as the family structure is in Indian society is concerned, we try to take up the family as the patriarchal system. The dominant family structure is the patriarchal system. When we refer to the patriarchal resembles the male domination in the family structures and male members' decision-making lies in the family, and also the lineage of the father will be transferred to the children in the family. Okay, so that means the lineage, the name of the father is given to the children of the family. Okay, and then not only this, we also have matriarchal systems lying in the family. So the matriarchal family structures we have in few tribal communities, also in the Kerala or Nair families goes with the matriarchal system where female heads the family structure. When female heads a women-headed family structure, it is again the lineage or the name of the women goes to the children. So the mother gives her lineage to the daughters in the family and also sons to the family. Okay, but at the same time, it is the decision-making given lies with the women candidate in the matriarchal family. So most of the tribal communities practice matriarchal family structures. And then here, when you talk about patriarchal and the matriarchal, it so happens that marriage system and the authority lies with the male and the female here. Okay, so when it is the marriage in the matriarchal system, most of the time in the matriarchal families practice polyandry marital system. Polyandry is where the women marries more than one time. I repeat once again, wherever you trace the matriarchal type of family structure, most of the time it is dominated by the polyandrous family structure. So where in the polyandrous family structure, it so happens that women takes up marriage more than one time. So she can maintain more than one husband in the patriarchal families, in the polyandrous family structures. And at the same time, usually there are certain rules and regulations in connectivity with the matriarchal and the polyandrous structure. And again, simultaneously, when we come down to the patriarchal structure, it is most of the time polygamy type of system, marital system we practice. Because in India, we are talking about the Indian patriarchal system, it is still mostly dominated, it is the monogamy practice we have. What is monogamy family marriage structure we have? It is single marriage for any person in the Hindu social organization. Even Christianity goes with the single marriage, that is monogamy. Excepting the Islam community, we have the polygamous family structure, a marital system where man is given a right to go for more than one marriage, but with the consent of the first earlier marriage. Okay, first wife. So he can take the consent of the first wife, or he can divorce and then go for the second marriage. Like he has liberty to go for more than 3 or 4 marriages. Okay, so this is the rights given, the rules we have with regard to the family and the marital structure in the Islam and the Hindu structure and the Christianity structures. Okay. Then again, we have certain forms of marriages also. Like when you talk about surrogate marriage and the levirate marriage, in most of the South Indian system, even among the Hindu community and also the Christian and also the Islam community, we also have the surrogate marriage. What is the surrogate marriage? Surrogate marriage is where a man in the patriarchal system, a man is given liberty or he has the right to go for a second marriage in Hindus. I'm talking about the Hindu social organization where only the first wife is no more. Like when she's collapsed, when she's died, then you can go for the second marriage, or even in case of divorce also. Now in the modern time, we are talking about divorce, but earlier in Hindu social organization, divorce is not that easy. So only taking the genuine reasons, they can go for the divorce in the Hindu social organization. System, but otherwise in the modern society now, divorce is very much easy for the people. They can approach the court and show the positive factors, and then they can separate themselves. it has become not complicated, but it has become so simplification. Okay. When we talk about the kinship system in Indian society, as I said yesterday, we have three types of kin members here. One are the kin members who share the blood with the a person. Okay, so when the person is sharing blood, when you usually have the blood relationship with the second person, then we usually term it as the kinship system. So usually we have two different types of kin members: the affinal kin members, or the conjugal kin members, and the consanguineal kin member. What are the affinal members? The affinal kin members are the marital tied members. The marital kin members are called as the affinal kin members. What are the marital members? Actually, they don't have the blood relationship with them. They don't share the blood with them. Okay, so the marital person, a stranger, a woman is from different family, a man is from different family, and when they enter into the marital tie, they make up the conjugal kin members or the affinal kin members. Okay. Then again, we have the consanguineal kin members. The consanguineal members are all the blood relative members here. So who share blood among themselves. Usually this, it's a very big kin group here. They form as the kin members. Then when you talk about the three types of kin members, the primary kins, secondary kins, tertiary kins. What are the primary kins? A family unit with mother, father, and their children form as the primary kin group. So what is the characteristics you find in the primary kin member? The characteristic features we find in the primary kin members are, they have a very close, intimate relationship, and everyone will be thinking about the other second person, and they usually subordinate their interest or the priority with the interest of the other members in the family. So that give and take is more in the primary tie-up here and primary kin tie members. At the same time, as I said, the direct, very close, intimate relationship lies with the second person in the primary kin members. That is our family unit. We can take example as a primary kin group here. Then we have the secondary group. For example, now, how do we relate our secondary members here? Usually, we have the technicality using the secondary kin, where we try to trace the secondary kin as our primary related primary kins becomes an ego. Ego is a person here, and ego is secondary kin member. I repeat once again. The primary related primary kin becomes an ego's, that is a person's secondary kin. How do we trace our secondary kin? For example, your parents are your primary kins. Your parents, your fathers or your mothers, sisters or their brothers become your secondary kin. That means you may not maintain the same close intimacy with your aunt or your uncle, fine? And you have no that kind of demand. You cannot demand whatever you demand with your primary kins. With the secondary kins, you cannot demand so. And at the same time, the same rights and the obligations may not lie with your secondary kin. I repeat once again. Whatever are there, the features of the primary kins, you cannot show the same thing with your secondary kin. That means a little distance you maintain with your secondary kins. This is why we call the secondary kin members as the second degree kin members. So primary kins are the first degree, secondary members are the second degree. That means a little distance between you and the secondary members. So the same demands, same rights, same obligations may not lie with your secondary kin members. Then we have the tertiary kin. It's a very big group, as I said. Nearly more than 156 members we have with all our kin members. When you just count all your kin members, according to Dubey and others, we have more than 150 kin members as the tertiary kin members. So the overall consanguineal members, it falls around 150 members. Okay. So for example, I have nearly about 150 kin members surrounding me. Okay. So fine, but I may not trace, but usually we have this figure. Who are the tertiary kins and secondary kins? Primary related kin member, I repeat once again, and ego's secondary kin's primary related member becomes your tertiary kin. Very far distance from you all. Fine. And the same obligations, whatever you fall with your, you trace with your secondary kin may not relate, you may not compare the same with your tertiary kin. So because they are very far, you cannot have these many demands or whatever it is, the closeness, the intimacy may not lie with your tertiary kin. Fine. So that's how why we usually try to trace with the degrees and the primary kin members or tertiary kin members here. So as the degree says, you are more far up from your tertiary kin member. Okay. So this is very brief with regard to family marriage and the kinship in Indian society. As I said, today I will be discussing about the major important topic in the syllabi content, social change in India. So as this is in the traditional period, we have the Varnashrama system, the Ashrama Vyavastha, the Ashrama stage life here, or the Purusharthas. We trace them from the traditional Indian society. Then what exactly happened with the, do we really take up all those things presently? Are we going to the Ashrama system? Are we going to the ashramas where the student is leading the student life in the ashrama today? Not possible, which is not there in the present system. So we entered into the modernity. How could this be possible from the traditional to the modernity? So there must be some transition period took place here. So why the social change has occurred? What is social change? Social change is a concept, it's a process. We relate it to the society, the bigger complex society. Social is society and the change is transformation. The transformation from traditional society to the modern society or a new society. Okay, the new society we have given the name called the modernity or the modern society. So a transformation from the existing to the new one, we try to phrase it as a transition period, the transformation, the change or alteration or transformation. So we have altered the system from the traditional to the modern society. There are certain factors which could really impact, which brought about these changes in the Indian society. One is industrial revolution, one is Islamization process, the other one is the westernization process, and we also have other different external factors and internal factors, like because industrial revolution brought different technology into the innovations into the system. So we could be in the process of adopting to the technology also. There are immense changes in the Indian society. Okay, so the major external factors we can take up is Islamization process into the Indian society, westernization process, because Western people entered the Indian society, they brought their own, their own culture into the Indian society. So diffusion and assimilation of the culture took place in the Indian society. So Indian people who were very much sticking to their own rigidity, their own traditionality, could observe the new culture in the Indian society. I repeat once again. A very important topic we have in the syllabus is social change in India. So India started experiencing changes. India started experiencing the transformation, the alteration. What is this transformation? How could the transformation occur? Because when we talk about India, India is a very rigid country, very, very traditional country. So we are very much deep-rooted with all the traditionality and all. So it's not that possible to bring these alterations. So how could this occur? How could this change take place? Actually, so we have, as I said, some factors which really could impact the Indian social system, which could really impact the culture of the Indian society. So one of the major external factors we can take up is the Islamization process, where the Islam rulers entered the Indian society. And then some assimilation took place, the cultural assimilation had taken place in the long run. And the Indian people, the indigenous Indian people could really observe a new culture in the Indian society. And most of the downtrodden communities, like when you talk about the Varna system, we have the hierarchical placement of the people. The downtrodden section of the community could convert themselves to Islam because liking of the Islam features we have. For example, if we talk about Islamization process, I just like to refer the Islam belief systems or the Islam regulations here. So there is only the monotheistic system. It follows only one God. Okay, there is Allah is one God here. Fine. And then again, there is no idol worship in the Islam community. There is no hierarchical placement in the Islam community, or Of course, to that matter, we can say that there is no untouchability in the Islam community. So maybe for these reasons, usually Indian people, the downtrodden community who were facing untouchability, very orthodox communities we had in the Indian system. So because of these reasons, maybe most of the Indian downtrodden communities converted themselves to the Islam community. So this was one Islamization process we can identify. So the change could start, we can identify, we can just observe these changes in the Indian society. Conversion is a big place we had taken, a very big place has occurred in the Indian society. Not only this, when we try to talk about the Western people entering in the Indian society, Westernization, the English people had entered the Indian society. And of course, nearly more than 200 years, they stood in India, they ruled the Indian society. So the 200 years was a very long period, a very big history we have experienced in the Indian society. So this very long period of the history of Western community in the Indian society could really bring diffusion of their culture, their own Indian society, their life standards in the Indian society, and the exposure of the new Western culture took place in the Indian society. So diffusion and the assimilation started in Indian society. So the upper Varna community people, the upper community could more went into the Western impact. So their impact and their imitation of the Western took place in the Indian society, and the lower community could go for the Sanskritization process. I repeat once again, the upper communities in the Indian society who belong to the upper Varna communities, they could enter into the more imitation of the Western. So it was a craze for them. So they imitated the Western community and the Western culture in Indian society. And they slowly became so like modernized that they could not bother about the lower community taking the imitation of the upper community's culture. So this is where this process we call as the Sanskritization, and this process we call as the Westernization process. So instead of the caste, they slowly went into the class structures. And now here we have elevation of the lower communities to the upper community. So this process, all the process we had in the Indian society, which could really bring social change in the Indian society. Fine. When we talk about the social change, now we have to talk about what is called the prevailing or the existed traditional system which really depended on land. The condition we have taken was the caste condition. So based on the caste system, we could bring the whole social system was dependent on either the professional attachment of the person or identity of the person or placement of the person. Here, we have taken the status of the person. We have taken the condition, the criteria of the caste in the Indian society. So the working pattern for the base of the Indian society was based on the Indian caste system. When I say the caste system, the whole Indian society was divided into 4 different caste communities. The 4 different hierarchical positions were given. The Brahmin, Kshatriya, then the Vaishya and the Sudras. The 4 hierarchical placement was placed, the stratums were placed in the Indian society. Then after, people who were the Brahmins were given the profession of the priesthood, and the Kshatriyas, we know that Kshatriyas were given the securing the whole society, and the Vaishyas were given the economic system of the Indian society. Fine. And then the Sudra were given, they were born to give the services to the all upper 3 varnas. But what were the characteristic features we had with regard to the caste? How caste really functioned in the Indian society? Like we have certain features for the caste. One is the endogamy status of the endogamy rule of the caste community. And then we have what is called the hierarchical placement, hierarchy of the caste communities. And then we have what is called the hereditary professions, the caste abuse we have. And then we have the closed system as one of the caste feature. Fine. The rigidity we maintain and the taboo restrictions with regard to what's called the purity and the pollution notion in the caste communities. What are these actually? When you talk about the caste endogamy status, as I said yesterday, a Brahmin should marry only a Brahmin. This was restricted to only that particular caste community. Like, because you're born in the Brahmin community or in a Kshatriya or in a Vaishya or in a Sudra, whatever the caste community may be, you are only to marry your own member in the caste. You cannot come out of that community borders here. Okay, you cannot cross your borders. So this was purely maintained in the traditional Indian society. I repeat, this was purely maintained in the traditional Indian society, in the traditional Indian caste system. So that was caste feature, that because a strict rule of the caste, people have to maintain the rule and they have to conform to those rules and all. So in the caste, there were again many different subcastes, many different subjatis were there. So people, again, a person have to select from the caste and the broader caste, the bigger caste, and then again he has to select the mating partner from the subcaste he belongs to. So a major selection and the minor selection. Okay. So he cannot cross the limitations here. He cannot go out of those rules regulation. There is no deviance from the rules regulation, crossing again, going against the deviating against the rules regulations of the caste committee. So that because we had a very strict sanctions which a person going against the rules regulations of the caste committee. So you will be thrown out of the caste community, or you will be not identified as a member, or you will be socially boycotted. So this was the penalty laid upon the person deviating from any kind of rules regulations of the caste community. Okay. Then again, we have hereditary professionals here. So because you're born, you need not get the ability or the achievement here, but there is no meaning for the achievement here. But because you're born, automatically you will be given what is called your profession automatically. So that means you will be trained in the skill, and or you will be given the skill or the profession. Your life cycle will be revolving around your caste and your rules, regulations, and your profession. So you're going to live by that profession. So you are going to practice the same profession. You're going to elevate your status with that particular profession only, and you will be identified with the name itself, the caste name itself. So this was certain rules we had in the caste community. And the other one is like restrictions of the taboos we maintain. What are these taboos? Like Brahmin cannot eat the food which is cooked by the other lower communities. Okay, a Brahmin or the upper community cannot eat the food which is cooked by the other communities. So this was very strictly maintained in the traditional. I'm not going very deeply with all these things here. So this was very strictly maintained in the traditional Indian social organization. Then again, when you talk about what is called the closed system, what is this closed system? I'm born as a Brahmin, but I want to become a Kshatriya. Is this possible? No, not at all. Because I'm in a closed group, which is where the doors and the windows are closed to me. I cannot come out, nor the outer member can enter into my group. So this was very strictly, rigidly maintained in the caste system of the Indian traditional system. Then again, we have what is called purity pollution notion. What is this purity pollution notion? A shadow of, I repeat, a short shadow of the underprivileged section, if falling on the upper community, will become, it makes the pollution of the upper community member. It's just the shadow which falls on the member, which falls on the upper community member, can make the pollution of the upper community. So this was maintained, like whether it is provable, whether it is scientific or not, we are not bothered, but this was the rule of the condition at that time. So we practiced all those things now, because now we had say that India is changing. They're occurring the social change in the Indian society. Overall social change has been taking place. So now I think now we are transferred into the modern society. We are now presently into the global era. So probably this identity has no more that importance, that relevance in the present day modern context. So how far we are going to take up the social change, how the transformation is occurring, and what is the present status, we'll discuss in the next class. Okay. So thank you all. I'm sorry, my class was disturbed with all the technicality. Probably maybe I couldn't understand this technicality. So I'm very sorry for the disturbance in the classroom. So tomorrow I will be continuing with the other topics. So let us continue the present status, the how social change could really bring the new present status, and what is the present status, and how we are bringing the development possibility in the present day system, that we are going to discuss. Okay. Thank you all.
Yeah, ma'am, 1 second, ma'am. Just a minute. Can I have 1 minute of your time? Ma'am, we are having even a discussion about the Vedas over here, as well as like, the invent of Aryas and Jainism and all that. Yeah. Do we need to be going through that? Because it would be relevant, it is connected to the topic.
I understand. Yeah, I could get your question. The answer is that because now if we go on each and every topic, probably the given time may not be possible for us to touch all the topics. Okay, so what I do tomorrow or probably in 13th and 14th May classes, I would like to take up even those topics. Let me finish the important topics tomorrow. Fine. Then later, other 3 classes, I would like to touch the topics which I have not done. You got my point?
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, one more thing, ma'am. There is a lot of terminology used in sociology, which we aren't aware. So in exam, are we, if it is conferred with the same terminology, wouldn't it be easier for us to follow? Because there are many terms, understanding the concept here, but the term or the terminology used or the vocabulary used.
Yes. Certain technical terms are used in sociology. We usually say they are the sociological terms. Okay, sociology terms. Like, for example, we have cultural assimilation. Okay, we have acculturation, we have enculturation, we have socialization. Fine. And we have, like in kinship also, we have certain technical terms. Primary kins, secondary kins, fine. Conjugal kins, affinal kins, consanguines, residential kins. Fine. All these are the technical terms. And of course, I think the book provides you all these technicalities. If possible, if you go through all the topics, you will definitely learn. But otherwise, as much as possible, I try to use all these technical terms only, because I cannot give you a general, what is called the lecture here. I definitely have to make use of all these technical terms. So I see that more number of technical terms I use in the lecture. Okay. So that you better understand how the technical terms are used in this language and all. Okay. Is it okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you all. So let us meet tomorrow in my class. Thank you. If possibly, I try to touch each and every topic at least briefly. As I said, I will definitely possible tomorrow. I review with the Vedas and then we'll go on to the other topics. Okay, briefly, I just 5 or 10 minutes, I'll take time for reviewing the Vedas and all, and then we'll move on to the other topics. Okay, thank you all. Thank you.